Well, good afternoon, friends. Good afternoon. Welcome. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Dune and Friends. Today we have a wonderful friend joining us. We have Jackie Rainforth from the Calgary area, and we're going to talk about certainly all kinds of stuff. We're going to touch on sales and really how to do sales even in challenging times like COVID here. We're going to talk about confidence and in business as well as in life. So grab a coffee or a tea or your favorite beverage, folks, and we're going to have a conversation with Jackie in just a moment here. But first, let me do a quick introduction of Jackie's background so you know who you're hearing from for this hour and a bit here on this broadcast. Award-winning sales expert, facilitator, and sought-after conference speaker, Jackie Rainforth achieved enormous success as one of the few outstanding professional saleswomen to make it to the top of a male-dominated construction industry. She is the founder and CEO of the nationally acclaimed Rainmakers Business Solutions. Now, this magnetic RBC Woman Entrepreneur of Canada Award nominee is a much sought-after trainer, women empowerment and motivational conference speaker, sharing the proven sales strategies that will take your team's performance from stall to unstoppable. Tips for women to overcome the confidence gap and the imposter syndrome so that they can more successfully navigate their careers upward. Author of the Badass Guide to Superstar Selling, Jackie's superpower is helping you take your sales from stall to unstoppable while being more confident and successful in business and in life. With that short but wonderful introduction, folks. Please help me in welcoming our wonderful guest today, Jackie Rainforth. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm well. Thank you, Dune. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. And so how's the weather over there where you are today, my friend?
Well, it's not bad. It can always be worse. So we have to be thankful for what we have.
You bet. You bet. So it's all relative, isn't it? I mean, in the deep winter, this would be beautiful weather. This would be like shorts weather, like t-shirt shirt weather, right?
Okay, well, let's not get too carried away.
So tell us a bit more about your background. Fill us in a bit on the intro before we get underway with some, diving deeper into some aspects. Tell us a bit about where you came from and your experience thus far.
Well, I kind of fell into sales when I was in university, and my first job, I was horrible. I mean, I was really horrible. I would go into the office in the morning, and because I'd received so much dejection. I was selling these time clocks, those clocks where you put the card in.
Yes.
Yeah, like it wasn't like everyone needed those every year. So I'd go out there door knocking, and I'd get doors slammed in my face. And no, not interested. And it took a toll. It took a toll to the point that, my self-esteem, my confidence, everything was just starting to crater. So I would go in the morning and pretend I was working, shuffle some papers and then say, okay, I'm going out to make my sales calls. When actually I was going home and sitting on the couch all day. So and what happened was, I compromised my values, my integrity. I was lying to myself, lying to my boss. I mean, I ended up quitting because I was such a disaster. But I promised myself that I would do it differently the next time. And I knew that confidence was the key to that. I ended up having a great mentor, and he helped me. And from then on, I was top performer at every company I'd ever worked for. So I am a big believer in confidence, big believer in confidence. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that story. And really, again, it's a reminder to all of us that our lowest point in life oftentimes are pivotal moments where we get to make a choice, whether to let it destroy us or to let it be a lifelong lesson. And sound like you've chosen the latter, and sounds like that really served you well throughout your entire fantastic career, I say.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was, I've been very blessed for sure.
Yeah. So tell us, go back a bit more further. Were you mostly in Alberta, or were you in some other provinces as well? You give us a bit of a a background
I
as well?
was born and raised in Montreal. My
Hmm.
parents moved out here when I was a child. And so, yeah, most of it has been based out of Calgary in Alberta. That's
Wow.
so even these days, I'm all over the place, but home is Calgary for me.
Wonderful. Well, Calgary is a beautiful city and have a lot of great stuff. The mountains, least of which is the mountains. But I used to teach a lot at Mount Royal University on site. I still do, but a lot of it is obviously it's all online now. But
Yeah.
as I go to Calgary to do my teaching and spend my time there, it grew on me. It really grew on me. A great
Yeah.
city.
It is a great city. It's struggling a bit now. We've had a few
Absolutely.
hits, a lot of hits actually between
Yeah.
Mother Nature and oil and gas.
Yeah.
But it is a great city with great people, and they're troopers. They're still, there are a lot of people that are unemployed right now, but they're doing their best to be creative, find new ways, pivot, find new ways to do business and to earn an income.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Mhm.
I have strong faith that Calgary and Edmonton and Alberta and the rest of Canada will certainly rebound from this once in a lifetime thing called COVID and everything else that even preceded COVID, like you
Yeah,
mentioned, the oil
yeah,
and gas industry, which Calgary is so strong with.
yeah.
Wonderful. So tell us, you know, your sales career, if there was one, I'm going to get into this early on.
Mhm.
If there was one big lesson about sales that you learned early on, what might that be?
Well, there's two things actually. One is pushing through the fear, because
Hmm.
it doesn't matter where you are in your career. You're going to have moments of fear, whether it's, a big meeting with lots of suits. I call it the 6 scary suits meeting, or whether it's just getting on, having that discipline is the second thing, and being able to just continually make those calls to keep your funnel full, to, keep reaching out, making those connections, and promoting yourself and your business. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, in other words, just like any robust career that you spend your time with, hopefully the lessons that you learn there actually contribute to you being a better person. Because I think careers have a way of teaching us some hard lessons along the way. And if we can learn those hard lessons, we can be a better person, I think.
It is. I think life is a journey of lessons, and some are harder than others for sure.
Hmm.
But the gain on the other end is, it doesn't seem like it when you're in the middle of it, but when you look back in retrospect, yes, it's definitely, we always seem to end up in a better place than where we were before because of it.
You bet. I mean, one analogy would be I think about people that we know, like let's say Wayne Gretzky. I'm sure
Mhm.
he learned more than just skating and shooting puck in his career as a hockey player, as an internationally renowned
Yeah.
hockey player, the great one as they call him. But
Yeah.
so wonderful. So with sales, now we're going to dive into various stories as well that
Okay.
inform your thinking and your you mentor a lot of people, you train and you do speaking and all those things. We'll get into all of those kinds of things and certainly share what people can get from your website and your services. But before we get into those, when you think about COVID time, how has that changed the selling process?
Wow. It's changed it a lot. I think one, of course, the move to remote and digital everything, whether that's the Zoom or the FaceTiming or, all of that. I think there's been a real change. It's harder to get a hold of people. People are slower to decide because, of course, they're more risk adverse. Everyone's holding on to their cash.
Mhm.
The other thing that's happened is I think we need to be more serving in terms of helping more and being more empathetic towards people in the situation and where we are in the world today, whether that's economic and financial, whether that's just our mental state of being. It's tough. It's been a lot of change that came on very quickly, demanding immediate turnaround in terms of making that change. Yeah.
In other words, it almost seems like COVID has really pushed the need or the envelope to really be awesome at what you do. Because if you're not really great at what you do, then the challenge and the pressure is even more.
Yeah.
So because, as they say, during good time, a lot of people can be profitable during tough time. If you're profitable during tough times, you must be doing something right.
Well, people make decisions based on emotion, and when times are good, they make a lot of emotional decisions. And I think what's happening now is you need to, one, there are fewer sales opportunities than ever before, so you need to maximize them. And two, it is about getting back to the basics and the skill set, the processes, the systems that will provide the maximum amount of success for you. Before you could wing it on charm and a conversation. Well, it doesn't work that way anymore. You really need to know your stuff. People have much higher expectations, especially decision makers, C-suite execs. They have much higher expectations with probably a lot less patience than ever before because they're super busy. It used to be about money. I think now there's been a real shift to time. People are more protective of their time than they are about their money.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. So tell us, beyond the sales, obviously any one of us who work in the fields or whatever field it is, we tend to have some other extracurricular activity, whether you call them hobbies, whether you call them the home life and whatnot. I understand you do some scuba diving, right? Is that true? Is that?
Well, it was going to be a hobby. I tried it for the first time and I didn't have a very good experience. What happened was my husband had scuba dived before, so I took the lessons. I did the shallow dive, all the training and everything. We went out for the big dive when we were 45 feet underneath the water, when someone said, "Hey, can I take a picture of you?" And I did my, hokey Fonzie pose. And next thing you know, my husband and the gentleman that took the picture started to swim off. And of course they've got flippers, so they're really, moving. I turned and I couldn't breathe. I could feel, my lungs filling up, and I thought, oh, that's weird. So I look off. My husband by this time's way off. And so I fell back to the training, where you blow out the regulator. Unfortunately, I tried that a couple of times and it didn't work for me. I could still feel my chest, filling up. I felt like I'd swallowed water. Actually, I hadn't, but I felt like I had. And next thing you know, I was just, boom, out. I saw the light, crossed over. You do the little, hey, I'm not ready. You beg for your life. Please, I promise I'll do better, be better, whatever you need me to do. And it's kind of it's a moment for sure. And I received a message that day. And the message was, Jackie, you haven't been listening to the signs and signals. You've been blessed with many gifts and talents. You need to get out there and help people feel more confident and successful in business and in life. You have a new path ahead. And just as quickly as I went out, I came to the dive master, shaking me and tapping on my mask. He had later told me that he had seen my body go limp and my eyes roll to the back of my head. I ended up spending 3 days in critical condition, kind of clinging to life, but really thinking about that message. And, my own sales success at that point became quite hollow. And that's when I became a sales trainer and tried to help other people be more successful. So and it turned out that what it was my body can't tolerate negative water pressure. So the capillaries in my lungs ruptured and filled with fluid and my heart stopped.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So scuba diving is not in my in my future. I'm not allowed to scuba dive. Yeah.
Well, that's what a story. And again, any really life traumatic event tends to have an impact, a long lasting impact on us. And I'm glad that you had allowed it to really be a message of service, the ability to kind of turn that into really helping others and really working on leaving a bit of a legacy beyond just being a high performer that you were. And when you were done with your sales career, nobody really is going to miss you in quite the same way as when you help them be successful as sales professionals that they are. So that's pretty cool.
Well, thanks. And again, it is one of those moments, those life lessons that that really do change things. And I think you're right. Serving, it has become a major priority for me, and it is something. I mean, I look back on my career and all the wonderful people who were mentors to me, who helped me become the success that I had become. It is about giving back.
Yeah. I'm just going to bring in a photo of that. Hopefully, you are okay with kind of seeing the photo and just
Oh,
reminiscent on the,
yeah.
In some way it was an awesome experience, and in some ways it was a life-changing experience, and obviously extremely scary experience.
Well, it was terrifying to say the least. Especially for my husband. I mean, he had to sit there. My body blew up to 3 times the size. I was barely recognizable in the hospital, and
Hmm.
I think it was a lot more difficult for him than it was for me, for sure. But yes, I keep this photo actually on my screensaver. It reminds me every day
Hmm.
of what's important, and that I'm truly thankful for having this opportunity,
Yeah.
because, you know, this happened back in 2016. It was only a
Hmm.
few years ago, but it's like it was yesterday for me. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Your friend Michelle
Oh,
LaBelle chimed in, and she said,
oh,
grateful for all the people you have helped, and your service is so important.
she's one to talk. She's another one that really helps people. I've been able to surround myself with some incredible people, and she is one of them.
Yeah.
She helps people break through some, traumatic incidents that they've had in their lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
And as you think about COVID, and as you witness all of the dynamics of COVID, what are a couple of things that's top of mind as you think about your work and your clients and your community? Are there words that comes to mind that you want to share with our viewers who might be?
I think it's to stay positive. So we're working from home. It's a lot harder. It's easy to feel that dejection and rejection because, it's just harder to get a hold of people and harder to sell our products and services. And I think that, sales is a real roller coaster career. You can be up and down, but those downs can be pretty low, especially when you're not interacting with anybody. You don't have that office interaction and that, hey, high five, and here's somebody else's success to inspire you and keep you disciplined and motivated, right? And I
Mhm.
think it's mental health. I think it's a huge issue these days. And as we've moved into the second round, it's tough. It's taking its toll on people. And I think that's what I worry about the most. That's why I say, hey, reach out, just say, I was thinking about you today. How are you
Mm.
doing?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a sales call. It's about heart, putting
Mhm.
your heart first and being people centric in terms of,
Mhm.
just saying hello.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Which actually reminds me of a quote that I love from back in I think it was in the 90s when I used to do a lot of sales across North America as well, and I thought I was pretty good with presentation until one day I actually listened to those cassette tapes, yeah, right,
Yeah. Yeah.
12 cassette tapes, and I only remember one thing, but it changed how I view leadership. It changed how I view sales. And the quote goes like this. I think it was from the Council of Selling series. And it says, people don't buy your products or services necessarily because they fully understand them. They buy your products or services because they believe that you understand them. And so I changed my focus to how do I understand people and how do I convey that I understand it and make sure that they feel like they're understood, because when they feel understood, then you can then have a different conversation than if they were like, oh, a bunch of features and products, but you don't really understand me or my world or my company or my business or my team.
Right. And that's how selling has changed. I kind of help the entrepreneurs, the business owners, the professional service providers like accountants and lawyers and financial investors. You need to talk about what's in it for them, what's
Mm-hmm.
in it for the client, because so often that's the big thing that gets missed. With my corporate clients, they typically know that.
Mm-hmm.
And, it is about proving value for the person that you're talking to. But
Mm-hmm.
it's changed. The amount of research has to be better. Like, expectations are higher than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
And those decision makers expect you to check them out online, to find out what's going on, and to really know about their business, know what their problems are and what gaps could exist in their business. So yeah, it has certainly changed, but it is all about the client. You need
Mm-hmm.
to really, know what you're talking about. And again, it's that whole thing where you can't just throw mud against the wall with your personality and charm and hope that, for a hope and a prayer that you're going to get the sale. It doesn't work that way. You have to have a real foundation for selling and the processes, the systems to really get you to that success.
Right.
And that's part of it these days. Yeah.
So in many ways, not only in sales, but whether it's in accounting or other professions, the work that can be automated should be automated,
Yes.
and we should focus on things that require the human touch, things that require the strategic mindset, things that require the human connection. Because if we just keep ourselves busy with those tactical and what I'm going to call things that could have been automated, then we're not going to be able to compete very well, right?
Right, exactly. And it's interesting. It used to be, the B2B, the business to business, or B2C, the business to consumer. Now it's shifted to P2P, person to person, people to people. That's what matters. It is about how we make others feel. And especially these days, we need to have that empathy and that concern and, really focus on that and put those administrative operational things aside so that you can spend that time more one-on-one with clients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
Because that's where you're going to make a difference, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So do you have a story of, I'm going to ask you, by the way, thank you, Michelle, and thank you for other guests who are watching right now, other friends who are watching right now, and feel free to do what Michelle have done there, chime in and interact with us, ask Jackie questions and encourage Jackie. And, it's always better when we have more people in the conversation, right? So thank you, Michelle, for demonstrating that. So Jackie, as I think about, let's just say sales and whatnot, do you think that more people or fewer people are going to be practicing the sales kind of career? Do you think the field is shrinking or is it expanding?
Well, I think as automation improves, I think that people are going to have to be, one, more specialized at what they do, and two, better at what they do. So I think the field is going to shrink because there are so many people out there that are just doing the personality, and charm thing. And it is going to be about skill set. I think as automation comes into place, a lot of the tasks, the administrative tasks, will be handled either by specialists who can, create the lead or kind of get things ready for the salesperson to walk in. And for that reason, I think that people are, it's going to be more difficult for salespeople because they're going to have to be better skilled at what they do.
Right. So whether it's online purchasing, whether it's direct, all of those, what we call simple transactional things are going to be relegated to, they can just go directly. They don't need somebody to help them make the decision. They don't need somebody to advise, and they don't need somebody to influence. So it's going to be, again, those higher end kind of a higher value activities, I think.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a real shift from, right now, most sales organizations have a lot more outside salespeople and they've got fewer inside. I think there's going to be a shift with that because most people have, made up 70% of their mind is made up before they even contact salespeople, because there is so much information and knowledge out there, and they research, they check out the product before they know what they want by the time they come to see you. So again, there's going to be a shift. Inside salespeople will be in demand a lot more because people will be using, the internet to purchase. And then I think the outside salespeople it's going to be a higher caliber, both in terms of the type of sale that it is, whether it's dealing with just decision makers and higher end executives, and bigger profitability, bigger risk, bigger margin, bigger sale. Yeah.
And do you agree that that phenomenon is applying itself all across all pretty much every industry and pretty much every discipline, every profession, dare I say?
Yeah. You know, we call it the age of excellence and the age of 24/7. People want to be able to get a hold of somebody immediately, and they want answers immediately. And they have a higher expectation so that when you call in, they don't want, they want that personalized service where if they phone in and they talk to the first person in the line, maybe it's the customer service person who transfers them to another department. They want to make sure that that information goes to the next person, right? They don't, the person phoning in, the consumer doesn't want to have to repeat everything all over again. The expectation now is that that will be communicated within someone's organization. And because again, it's time, right? Everyone is very, very protective and conscientious of their time. Time is becoming the big commodity right now that people are really valuing.
Time, and perhaps also what I'm going to call the experience, that they are very demanding about the experience that they have while they spend the time with you, right?
Yeah. And you know what? In a way, we've kind of created our own our own nightmare, because a lot, I know I've phoned into places and the customer service level has been horrible. Or you can't get through to someone, or, you have to go through 10 different dial tones before you can get to the right person that you need to talk to. And you hit the wrong button and you have to phone in again. And it's just frustrating. So I think, we are up leveling all of our service expectations for sure. And companies need to follow that to, if they want to continue to be profitable.
Right.
Because it's those that stand out, that are going to gain that competitive advantage.
I love that phrase that you use, the term, the age of excellence, right?
Yes.
Let's just unpack it a little bit.
Okay,
I mean, when you hear about the age of excellence, what I think of is like anything that's mediocre or just sort of below the average or below expectation are going to fade itself out to be very commoditized to whether it's automation or robotics or whatever have you. And then we humans are going to have to kind of fill in that top level gap of excellence, right?
Yeah, I think it stems back to the history of selling. Back in the day, hey, no offense to timeshare people, but if you've ever been to a timeshare presentation,
yes, I have.
You've been pushed to beyond. Like, it's aggressive and it's uncomfortable and nobody likes it and they don't let you go. And people are tired of that. They will not stand for that anymore. And selling has changed. I think, societal trust levels are the lowest they've ever been in the history of the world. We've had, there's been a real shift, right? The pendulum swinging again, but that whole shareholder only focus where, when you had companies that would just blindly let go thousands of people and because of profitability and expectations of the shareholders, right? That is changing things. Then you've got, we had all that greed and the fraud, the Enrons, the Bernie Madoffs, the Sears Canada, all of, those big bonuses, and people don't trust anymore. And part of that, I think, that age of excellence is you need to earn that trust. You need to earn the trust, and you need to be really good at what you do. You need to be an expert if people are going to spend their money with you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now, I'm going to bring in your website and tell us a little bit about what people might find on your website if they were to go there. I'll also display the website address there, but tell us a bit about what they would find.
Well, the website is a work in motion. It's always changing.
Always is.
It's always changing. Yeah, I think. Yeah. So what's that? Well, first of all, the 7 crucial steps to successful selling. I provide a lot of value on the website. There are lots of things, great tools that you can sign up for that will help you to, if you're feeling like you're at home all alone and you're feeling uninspired, pick up some of those things and, fill them out and find out. These are pictures of me speaking, different speaking events that I've done. And yeah. Oh, there. That, you can't see the screen, but it says basically people have a fear of selling, especially entrepreneurs and business owners. And I say it's not selling, it's telling, educating, advising. People want partners. They want collaborative. They want to work collaboratively with you as a partnership. That whole thing of the old assertive, aggressive, slimy salesperson thing is gone. It's modern selling is really about serving and partnering with your clients. So that's, and I do a lot of speaking and training, different forms, different things that I can do just to help people, because again, it's my way of giving back.
Yeah, as they say, people hates to be sold, but they love to buy.
Yeah, because we all buy an emotion and justify with logic. Oh, I really, really want that. Can I afford that? Where am I going to get the money from? Right?
Yeah. So if you can be the one to help them buy what they need and buy what they want and buy what it is that will serve their particular requirements, then they're okay with that, but they hate to be sold.
Well, and it's interesting because I have a course. It's called Personality to Profit. But basically, there are personality styles, and based on the different personality styles, people have very specific triggers to purchase. And one of the personality styles, of course, is that they need to, there's one that'll buy with no problem. They're all emotional. They're the ones you really want to target because they don't hold back. There's another group that, they always need collaborative decision making. And one of the other groups, they have to do research. So it's kind of neat when you find out what those triggers are and how much it can help.
Emotions are very powerful.
Oh,
you can have 5 different pieces of logic, and then you have one piece of emotion. Emotion wins.
Yes. I think my husband would wish I didn't have as much emotional purchasing in my life.
Yeah. So I'm going to delve into the speaking and training a little bit. So when you do your own speaking and training, what is it about it that resonate with you so much? I assume you still love selling, and I assume you just also love speaking and training. What is it about speaking and training that resonate with you?
Well, one, I've been there and I've done it. A lot of people train or speak and they're just basically regurgitating somebody else's stuff. I've been there. I've been awful. I had to, I know what it takes to get better at selling. I know the processes and the systems, but I've made it really simple for people. And that's what I think, the old days of selling, oh, you need to remember this script and do this and do that. No. It's much easier. It's much more natural. And I think that's a big thing because I've been there and I've done it. I know what it takes to help people succeed. And I can do very small adjustments for people, and they, their sales start to skyrocket. So that's important. The speaking thing, and again, it all comes back to that scuba diving. I love helping people. It's important to me to help people. And I love getting up there and, making a difference, giving people simple yet modern, implementable takeaways that'll make a difference in their business or in their life immediately. That's what I try to do, is to provide value, real value that can, change their life in some way.
Yeah. Now you shared a bit of a low point story right at the beginning of the conversation here about your early day of sales, and you literally had to basically just sort of fake it at work and then come home and just felt bad about it. But thankfully you rounded the corner, and it's all been great since then from a sort of a career discipline kind of thing. But tell us, what would be a highlight of your career if you think at this moment in time of a bit of a highlight story? Do you have one of those to share, and maybe explain why it's a bit of a highlight for you?
Yeah, I own my own sales agency representing a large global brand. I was in the construction industry, so there weren't too many women, and certainly there weren't too many women that own agencies. I was one of very few, actually. I don't know if there were any others, but there were a few others, but it wasn't a common thing. And what I did was I used those same principles, those simple selling processes and systems. I trained my people, and we ended up absolutely turning the industry over, because we increased the sales by 280%. We're talking tens of millions of dollars in 4 short years. And as a result of that, RBC Bank nominated me as one of their Women Entrepreneurs of Canada. So that was a moment. That was a moment. And again, it wasn't all me. It was my team. I had a great team. They, I just gave them the tools and they implemented it. And we just, we nailed it.
You rocked it.
We rocked it. We rocked it. Yeah. So it was great.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. And
You're welcome.
I know that's a very high honor to receive that award. And congratulations to you and your team for having accomplished that. And, when I think about, again, back to, there are people out there who think of salespeople in a certain way. I personally have huge respect for good salespeople because that is a very difficult art and science to master. And it is a very worthwhile thing because, again, forever and ever, people are always going to need something, are going to want something. The question is who help them get it, what it is that they need and want, right?
Right.
And so typically the salespeople are in that, what I'm going to call ideally a trusted advisor, if you will. And I think in the future, there's going to be more of that need to be trusted advisor because things that are, transactional, they can just get it directly from Amazon, get it directly from wherever. But it's when those complex purchasing decisions, that's when they need a bit of a trusted advisor.
Right. It's truly about strategy and finding, it's strategic selling now. It really has. There's been a real movement. My mother-in-law always used to say, "Oh, you're so lucky as a salesperson. You get to go for lunch all the time." And, I said, I am. I'm very, very blessed to have such a great job. But I put it in perspective by saying, have you ever gone to a Christmas party and you walk in and you don't know anyone in the room? You know that feeling that you get? That's what selling is about. It's about pushing through that fear to go up and talk to people and introduce yourself to people where a lot of times you really don't want to, right? But it's that feeling sometimes that other people, we're not just out doing lunch all the time or playing golf or any of those things. I mean, it really has changed, but it's that feeling of when you walk into a room and you don't know anybody. That's what selling is about. And it's being able to move past that.
Yeah. Again, that's why you talk about confidence. And that's why, in any profession, what we see from the outside is really typically tip of the iceberg. That's why these memes that we see on Facebook and social media that says, any profession. I happen to be a musician as well. And you think about musicians and say, okay, band members. Here's what the public thinks of band members. Here's what your friends or your spouse thinks of your band members. Here's what you think a band member is, and here's what it actually is. Or here's what your mom thinks a band member is. So I think the same with sales. I think there's different ways to see sales, and it's multifaceted.
It is. Well, and people don't see the work that goes in behind it, right? So even as a musician, people don't see the work and the practice and the time and the effort and the training that goes in behind being a musician. It's sort of the same thing with a professional salesperson, right? You look at any other job and they have to go to school and they've got all this stuff. It's the same for everything, but people don't often see that. Yeah.
So here you are with, what is it? BSBTM. Tell us more about that.
Well, I actually flew out to Ryerson University in Toronto, and the Women IT Management Program had me out there to talk at a conference that they were having. And that's what it was. There were actually men at the conference, and they too really enjoyed what I had to say. I tried to always customize whatever I'm talking to the people that are in the audience, because as you said before, it's about them and giving, them tangible nuggets that they can walk away with.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah.
But that was an honor. It was a great time, flying out there and to be asked by such a great school to speak on, to their students was just amazing. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Now, while I bring up some other photos here, in the back of your mind, also think about an interesting experience you had as a speaker that you might want to share. Just to get the idea, get our viewers to understand a little bit about what a sales speaker's kind of day might be like, or what might
Well,
be.
yeah, I guess, I don't just speak about selling. I also I do motivational speaking with regards to the scuba diving accident and some of the things that I was taking for granted. And it's a reminder to people that, yeah, you don't, you want to surround yourself with good people in life and really follow through, push through those fears and do the things that give you joy. I also speak about women empowerment because I help the younger women. That's what I was doing here. It was about diversity and women empowerment. Being a woman in the construction industry back in the day where there were no women in the construction industry as salespeople, I've learned quite a few things along the way, and I do share those moments. This particular photo is with a group called Women Talk, and I would talk about basically, just have fun and talk to women and remind them that it is about living life and to not just stay in the status quo, to push themselves a little bit more, to push through their fears and to really make sure that they're not holding themselves back.
Hey, that microphone is also very good for singing. Do you do any singing, my friend?
No, I'm terrible. No, I don't sing.
That'll be the next thing. That once you have a little bit more time, eventually, maybe that's the next thing. Because that could be.
Karaoke isn't even on my list. Like that would be a big fear that I would have to push through. But it would be, it wouldn't be
fun. It'd be fun.
People in the audience. Oh, this was an award that I won. I won the Leadership and Mentorship Award for helping other women. And so, I was very blessed. It was a great moment. Actually, two of my friends, Lisa L., who's the financial advisor, and Roseanne Normando, who owns Normando Window Coverings, they too also won awards at that event. So it was like a big trifecta of friends winning that year. So it was lots of fun.
Yeah.
Lots of fun.
No, I definitely know Womanition quite well. A number of my friends are, some of them are actually directors in that organization. So it's very, I know they do some magazines and some featuring of various folks as well. So they have quite a mission there to, again, inspire and help women in entrepreneurship and otherwise.
Yes. Actually, I worked with Dorothy Briggs, who owns who owns Womanition. I worked with her years and years ago when she too was one of the few women in construction. Yeah. And of course, now Darla Zook owns it down in Calgary, and we, big supporters of it. It's a phenomenal organization.
Yes. So there you are in your kind of office look and. When you think about sales, I'm going to poke a little bit of two terms that a lot of people use, and just want to get clarity on those from you, your perspective on sales versus marketing. What are your thoughts on, those two terms, sales and marketing?
Well, sales and marketing, people often get them confused. Marketing is the promotion of the product or service. Selling is actually, creating the deal, gaining the revenue from the actual process of selling. So they are different, but I think as time goes along, they are going to be a little more merged, especially as this automation and technology takes place. There's less emphasis in terms of marketing products and services because people don't trust anymore. They don't trust the ads as much as they used to. And where salespeople are coming in, we're building our own brands. We're doing social selling online. It is about the person. People need to know you, like you, and trust you. So the marketing now, you're promoting yourself, your product, your service. Even if you're working, like I'm dealing with an auto dealership right now, even for them, their salespeople should be online, social selling, not just the product, but building their own little network, because that's what's going to be very, very important as we move forward. Those people that bring the network of contacts with them, that's what's going to be really important as we move forward. It's the people, right? It's that people to people. Yeah. Again,
the transaction, the actual sales transaction itself is well understood and can be automated and can be mechanized and can be offshore or can be outsourced, whatever it is. It's that again top end top end work
It's the
that you need to do.
relationship. It's the
Abs-
relationship that
Mhm,
leads to the sale. That's the most valuable part of it. Yeah.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
And that's why after sales service and after sales relationship is also important. Talk a little bit about that. The idea of after you finish the sales, are you done?
Yeah. No, no. A lot of people do. Like, think about, oh my gosh, how many people buy a house, then you never hear from the realtor again, right? Like,
Mhm,
it's the biggest purchase decision you're going to make in your life, and you never hear from them, or maybe you get a fridge magnet or something, which is great. But I think there's so much more, as people are looking to build long-term loyal and repeat clientele. It is about the fortune is in the follow-up, as Jim Rohn would say. And 24% of the sale is actually in the follow-up afterwards. Like I said, there are 4 personality types. There's only one type that'll buy right away, immediately. The
mhm,
other types, they need time to process. They need
mhm,
time to make that decision. And so often, people don't follow up. Or how many times do you get one, they follow up once and then you're busy. So they never follow up again.
mhm,
Follow up is becoming much more important
mhm.
than ever before. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the farmers, they probably understand a thing or two about sowing seeds and nurturing
Yeah.
it and feeding it, and recognize that some of those seeds may not evolve to anything that you can harvest. Recognize that some of those seeds may take a long time to be developed. Some of those seeds are wiped out by storm, but
Yeah.
you can't be harvesting if you don't sow some seeds long before you need to harvest.
Well, agreed. Totally agree. You reap what you sow. And
Mhm,
there are 2 changes that have happened in terms of decision making. One, they're much more collaborative. So
mhm,
companies aren't relying on, just 1 or 2 people to make that decision now. There are more people because they're trying to reduce risk.
mhm,
More people will be involved with that decision. And the other thing too is that it's taking people longer, right? They are risk adverse. So it's going to take them longer to make that decision. There has to be a lot more follow-up than ever before.
mhm.
And, people think that we call it ghosting, that they've been ghosted. So the person doesn't want to talk to them. Oftentimes you need to phone back at least 3 or 4 times just because people are busy.
Mhm,
We cannot make the assumption that people aren't busy, that people aren't interested. You have to
mhm,
absolutely keep pushing through until you hear, no, not
mhm,
interested. And even
mhm,
then, you can put them on a top of mind list or something like that, just to
mhm.
stay in around,
Yeah,
right? Top of
you
mind.
bet. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Tell us about this book, and the title again is the Badass Guide to Superstar Selling.
Yeah, it was a controversial title, let me tell you. I still
What
hear
year
about
was that? What year was that?
that was actually last year. It's been
Okay.
1 year.
Yeah,
It released last
congratulations.
year. Facebook sent me a 1-year reminder that I put up the other day. Yeah, the title, Badass. I've got the definition. Badass is about being fierce. It's it's about being fearless,
Mhm,
not giving up. It's all those good attributes that you need to be a really good salesperson. So it's that modern take again on the definition, not the not the older version of it, but if you look it up in the modern dictionary, you'll see badass is actually it's a great term. It really is. And you need to be fierce. You need to push through. You need to
Yes,
have that
it's an
confidence.
honorable
All of
term. Is an or
it.
honorable term in today's language.
It is an honorable term. And, they say in terms of marketing, any any audience, good or bad, is good for your brand. So,
Because
actually, I wasn't sure about the term, and the publisher's like, yes, that's great. He said,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
good. Go for it.
Boring is one of the worst sin of marketing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it really is. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Boring is bad.
Boring is bad.
Yeah. But the
Cool.
book itself, it's gotten great reviews, and it's a great foundational starter for people, business owners, entrepreneurs, those professionals. But it's also a great reminder of the processes for more seasoned veterans in the
Mhm.
selling profession. Yeah.
Now, this photo reminds me, I'm sure you do a lot of online stuff these days, just by nature
Yes.
of COVID and whatnot. What are your thoughts on online technology, online kind of experiences? And do you have any kind of stories to share or experience that you've learned from that whole online engagement in your role as
Well, I'm busy doing, I've, everything has changed again. I had done a year ago, and that's one thing about change. It is consistent. It is always there. With COVID and everything that's happened, we have absolutely moved into a new era of digital everything, and people need to pivot. Those people that aren't pivoting are going to be left behind. So I do a lot of work with different corporations and different businesses in terms of getting them up to date on remote selling, on social selling. Social selling on LinkedIn is the new cold calling. It's not about door knocking anymore. Everything's gone virtual. And a lot of that is helping people learn how to do that. And so that's what I've been busy doing a lot of lately is helping people. Have I had nightmares with technology? Yes, yes, and yes. One of the things that's happened with technology is that people have, we're a little less formal now than we have been in the past. People know that there are distractions. There's kids climbing into the lap of mom and dad, or there's a dog barking in the background, or even our dress, although not like the news anchor who's in his shorts, not that kind of dress, but it is less formal and it's more human, which in the end, that's what we all want, is more human. It's that P to P again, that person to person, people to people. People want to deal with real people. They want to know that you do make mistakes, that you aren't perfect, that things do go wrong. And I think another P is patience. I think we do have patience for that. Those little things that go wrong. And I think we all need to be a little more human, a little more patient, and a little more personable.
Yeah. This is not the time to be robotic, because, if you compete with the robots, I have news for you. You're going to be challenged. The robots are pretty good at being robots.
Right. But we need that connection, especially today with, all of the COVID stuff that's going on. People are isolated. We need that connection. We need to reach out and say hi to people and make sure we know, just say hi. That's it. To let them know you care.
Tell us a bit more your take on LinkedIn. Of course, I'm on LinkedIn, and most professionals who are in the professional services field and professional disciplines tend to be on LinkedIn. Some of my Facebook friends, when I say, join me on LinkedIn if you happen to be on there, some of them is like, why would I want to be on LinkedIn? Tell us about why should people be on LinkedIn and who should be on LinkedIn?
Well, people in the past always thought of LinkedIn as that's where you go to get a job, but it's really changed. How do you put this? It's the business forum. If you're in business, you should be on LinkedIn, period. They are gaining 1 million new users a month. It's huge. It is significant. And they are people that have money, right? They have jobs, they're working. So they're a great target audience. And with all of this, the options that you can get right now, it is great because you can just delve right down and narrow in onto niche markets and reach out, do those warm calls before you actually pick up the phone and do the cold call. Engagement on LinkedIn. I teach this stuff all the time. How do you social sell on LinkedIn? How do you engage? How do you, meet people, target markets that you never would have normally without that incredible platform? I guess it depends too what your market is. If you're, if it's not a business forum, then maybe Facebook is a better place for you. You just need to know what your target market is. But LinkedIn, love it. It's
wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you love it because I also download this Facebook Live video.
Yes.
And upload it to YouTube where people can share nicely on LinkedIn and website and things like that. Because, whether it's LinkedIn versus Facebook or LinkedIn versus other, when you kind of post maybe a Facebook video on LinkedIn, it's not going to see as much traffic, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, I do 3 sales tips a day on LinkedIn and a weekly video. I post everything on there. I've got 20,000 followers, so they love seeing all the stuff that's going on, and they do watch those videos. And here's the thing, with people in social selling, it has moved to video. With the Gen Z, they have been raised on technology. These kids have, I say kids, please don't get that wrong, but They've been raised on technology, and video is where it's at. You get 5 times as much engagement with video than you do with photos. Photos get twice as much engagement as text. But there is a huge movement right now. Everything video. If you go to my website, we're putting more and more video up all the time, because it is, again, I think people want that connection. They want to see you mess up. Videos don't have to be perfect. I'm often going, oh, blah, 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 back up. Let me do that again. And, people want that human to human touch. And that's what video does for you. So start taking videos, people. It's big, really big. Yeah.
I mean, again, as you mentioned before, it's about relationship building. And when it comes to relationship building, if they can see and hear you, preferably live would be cool, then it's more real to them than just some well-crafted text.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yes. Well, and even with the video. So if you take video that's been spliced together, where you take little moments, event planners, they don't want that, because they know that you could be really bad at speaking and taking all the good parts and plunked it all together. Yeah. What they're looking for is, what are they like? How well do they speak in a long period video? Not just like, you need both, right? If you want to, part of your marketing is in those little splice things, but they really want to know, can they interact? Do they have energy? Are they, what did we say before? Boring is bad. So that's the stuff that people are looking for. And event planners these days are looking for that as well.
Again, back to that analogy of a band. If you don't have a video of a band performing live a few songs and see how they interact with the audience between songs and see how the audience behave and react to what it is that the band is sharing, if you're just listening to a well-crafted MP3, who knows how many take they did to do that, and who knows if it's actually all them, and who knows how the audience felt about it, who knows if they could actually engage the audience. A well recorded CD is fine, but a live performance in front of real audiences is always good, right?
Yeah, people want real. They want real, authentic, genuine. They want to be dealing with, to see those little mistakes and to know that people are real, because how you speak or how you play and how you recover, all of those things, right? It's just part of it. We just need that emotional connection to people nowadays that we're missing, particularly with COVID. Yeah.
And again, when they see us recover from, whether it's mistakes or accidents or incidents out in the field, out in the line of work that we do, the recovery is actually a very insightful piece for them to watch, right? It's like, everybody bumps into problems. The question is, how do you deal with the problems, right? Now, Michelle chimed in again here. She said, authenticity is the new gold.
It is. It's funny that you bring that up. On Thursday last week, I was out in Banff and I was doing some training for a client, and they didn't have, I don't know what it was, but my battery on my computer died. So there was no more PowerPoint. I just had to, okay, let's go. Luckily, and I think the more experienced you are, the better you get at recovery. But I had, there was a handout. So we just basically started using the handout and went from there. With technology, you need to have a backup plan just in case.
You got to be good enough that just yourself is plenty good, and not relying on everything else, right?
Right. It's interesting, when I talk about women empowerment, I tell women only apologize once. That's all you need. And even then say, hey, listen, this won't happen again, right? But when you keep going on and on and on and on about it, people, they get stuck in the apology and they don't move forward in their thoughts, right? It's one of the things. So just say, hey, sorry, we're going to move forward. Let's keep going and just keep going. That's it. That's how you recover.
In other words, we have a role in shaping what people think of us.
We do. And I think, everything these days with digital everything, it is everything we do and say is out there for the world to see. And it is about, knowing, even with for instance, I do a ton on LinkedIn. People still want to go to my Facebook and see, well, what does she do in her spare time? What are her thoughts on things? What's important to her? And I think we all feel that way. We always want to know more about the people that we're interacting with. And so social media is big for lots of reasons. Yeah.
And I say, there's a saying that says, you learn more playing with somebody for 20 minutes than you do working with them for, a year in some cases, because when we play and when our guards are down, our true kind of self reveals itself, that perhaps might be hidden during the quote unquote professional settings.
Yeah. I'm hoping that through all this, the world becomes a more playful place in terms of authenticity and genuineness. I really do. That's my hope. I know that, for me, that's always been it's been a struggle actually from my childhood to play, but that scuba diving incident changed everything for me. And I do play a lot more than I ever used to. I don't worry about the little mistakes and the things that we do. And, life's too short, people. Life is too short. And I hope that everybody plays a little more out there and shows a little more of their true self. Yeah.
And as I say to, I would put this post on social media. I say, our career is much bigger, much more than our job. A career is much more than our job. And our life is much more than our career.
Yes. I was guilty. I wrapped my whole self-identity around my career and the success that I had. I ended up breaking my foot. And this is another crazy story. I didn't just break my foot. I crushed my foot. And as a result, I had to have 2 surgeries, but I couldn't walk, weight bear, drive a car for 7 months. Yeah, it was life altering. And then of course I couldn't work. Right. And after that, it took me about 2.5 years to physically recover from it. But the emotional toll of not having that job as my identity. And I think a lot of people, as they retire, they suffer from that. And that's one of the things. I'm doing a TEDx talk, and that's what I'm going to be talking about is bouncing back from that to make sure that you do have more in life I had to learn, who is Jackie without the job, without the success. And it was a really long, another one of those journeys, one in retrospect that I wouldn't trade for the world. But at the time, oh my goodness, it was tough. It was tough. And I think you're right, Dune. I think it is about playing and not being entirely wrapped up with the job.
Tell us a bit more about your TEDx talk. Now, I'm so grateful to be hanging around with folks who can just say, just roll off the tongues. I said, I'm doing a TEDx talk. Tell us more about that, my friend.
Well, I'm preparing for it. It takes 6 months to a year to properly prepare for a TEDx. Again, one of those things that we were talking about as musicians, that's behind the scenes that you don't know about. I know they get up there and they just talk and it looks like, they just get up there and wing it, but they don't. There's actually 6 to 12 months behind a TEDx talk. And I do want to talk about job and self-identity and, and the loss that people feel. So many people these days are losing their jobs. They're having to change out of necessity, not necessarily want. And, it's okay. It's okay. Things, when we're in it, it feels like it's the worst thing that could ever happen. But again, like we've been talking about throughout your whole show, in retrospect, it's okay. Good things, it oftentimes turns out to be better. But yeah, that's what I'm talking about in the TEDx talk is it's not the end of the world, that everything happens for a reason, and pivot and change is a good thing.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I hope, certainly I'm looking forward to seeing that and listening to that. And I think the world, as you mentioned, can benefit from really more humanity, if you will. Now, my background is, again, certified management consultant and university professors or instructors in several universities, a lot of corporate training, a lot of management consulting company with lots of employees and whatnot. So given that background, there was 11 years when I was too busy for music, no music. No
Oh,
music. And then when I turned 41, a number of years ago, when I turned 41, I made a deal with myself. I made a decision that says I'm not going to let my passion for music be always displaced by business or displaced by professional activities and whatnot. So I got into music big time and really kind of almost making up for lost time. So I played in
good for
several
you.
professional bands. I still do a lot of university teaching, corporate training, and kind of speaking and business. But really, the music has been cranked up, on purpose.
Well, that's good because I think, and again, that's my whole TEDx. That's what it's about. But one, you're a very smart guy, and thank you for having me in your world. I appreciate that. But you're right. I think that as maybe it's age and wisdom. Although, you know what, I must say, the millennials, they get it. We kind of grew up in that
Yeah.
boomer mentality of work, 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 right?
Yeah.
And the millennials, they get it. They have a better balance, I believe, than we do in terms of protecting that family time, spending time with their families, and not being work, work, work driven all the time. So good for you, Dune.
Been
You
there.
just start the show with the tune and end it with the tune.
Yeah, been there, done that. Bought the T-shirt. There was a time where my business was, as you mentioned before, my business was my identity, and
Yeah.
it was, I remember starting the business in 2006, and I remember starting my MBA back in 2001. Actually, a few days before 9/11 was when I started my MBA,
Wow.
and did all of that stuff, and it was. I enjoyed it, and I was serious about it. But at one point, I just came to a point where I said, if this is all I did for the rest of my career, how happy would I be with that? And I decided that, I'm going to make time for music, and I'm going to also make time for teaching and training, because prior to that, I sort of put that aside as well. And I was so focused on, again, management consulting and getting work for my management consultants, who are mostly employees, and 12 of them. And, when you have 12 management consultants to kind of do payroll for and to keep busy, you got to do a bunch of stuff, right? RFP responses, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. Yeah. People don't realize, I always have this saying, entrepreneurs do what most people won't so they can live life like most people don't. I don't know if people realize what's behind an entrepreneurial, career. So if you had 12 people, that's massive. Doing payroll is painful.
Yeah. And even rent cost a lot back then when we had space, and but I scale it down, and really gotten into the next phase of my life, which is more about again, sharing, and it's a sharing years, whether it's sharing music, whether it's sharing business or leadership lessons and things like that. But tell us more about what you're up to in the next, let's say, year. And now TEDx Talk is one. Do you have some other exciting project to share beyond that, my friend?
Yes. In January 26th, I'm speaking for the Calgary Real Estate Board. So that's a biggie.
Nice.
And I've done this real shift to help people pivot to digital. So I've got a whole program on, everything digital, how to social sell digitally, how to move out of, I guess you could say, the old way of selling to today's method of selling, methodologies of selling, and creating that brand, creating that network. So that's been the big thing. That's what's going on. And then I've got customers. Right now I'm dealing with an auto dealership, property management company, an investment firm. I'm doing a modular company. There's lots of stuff I've got on the go. So I'm blessed. Thank you for these days. Thank you, customers. I appreciate business. And I'm lucky because I do incremental and accountability learning. So I break it up to maximize the learning retention that people get. And so that I have strong relationships, long-term relationships with clients. So I'm lucky.
Well, have fun with that, and congratulations on these. Really, when you get to combine your skills and strengths and experience and proven professional discipline with your passion that lights you up, whether it's speaking or training or coaching. Do you do much coaching, my friend, or is it mostly speaking and training in a larger group?
I do group group masterminds.
Mm.
That's yeah. And I will, we cover a topic twice, for every second week. We'll cover a particular topic and the group asks questions and we go through it and just really help people move ahead, past those challenges, past those issues that might be holding them back so that they can become more effective and in their selling and in their success.
Yeah.
So I do that. Got a bunch of webinars coming up every Friday now till Christmas. I'm doing a big Selling Made Simple, January 14th, 15th, 16th. It's a 3-day, 21-hour program to help people really up-level their skills. So lots happening. Yeah.
Cool. Well, webinars are cool too. And so I wanted to ask you a different question. When I reach out and say, hey, Jackie, would you like to come on and chat about various things? And you say, yeah, sure, Dune. Were there areas that you want to chat about that we haven't gotten to yet, my friend? Were there topics that you want to explore? We got a bit of time. We got a bit of time flexibility.
You know what? It's just been a real pleasure speaking with you and hearing more about your music and your the coaching and training that you do. And again, I think it's about building those relationships. So there's nothing really pressing and in my world. Again, it's that P2P, just getting to know you and how nice that Michelle came on and was brave enough. A lot of people aren't very brave and they don't like to put themselves out there on those social media channels. I have lots of followers that follow my stuff, but very few actually take the time to write down comments because there's that fear. It's part of that shift and that pivot, the fear of social selling, of putting ourselves out there for the world to see, I've been pretty lucky. I've never really had any negative things happen. So
just for fun, out of all of your speaking engagement, speaking/training, do you have a funny mishap story to kind of share? I talk to a lot of speakers. As you know, I'm a member of the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers, CAPS. And so when I speak to a lot of my fellow CAPS members, I ask them this question, and some of them have some pretty kind of fun or funny stories. Do you have one of those mishaps that you're willing to share, my friend?
I don't. I lucky me. I mean, the only thing that's gone wrong, I've had, sound go wrong, which is bad. The sound that the hotel had wasn't very good. And I always try to bring a photographer and a videographer to those on-site type of events. That doesn't happen anymore. So of course we've got Zoom, but no, I don't really. I think the hardest one I ever did was when a table of ladies showed up that I knew. That it's harder to speak, when even I did a big presentation for CAPS, right? It's always speaking to your peers that is the most difficult of things. But so far so good. I don't want to jinx myself. So.
And what would be even harder is speaking to your family, let's say.
Oh no, I'm pretty good there. I can.
Oh yeah.
That's not a problem. No, family's not. No. What else is? What else has been difficult for me? I have a billboard. A billboard went up and people are texting me going, oh my gosh, I saw you in this billboard. I thought, that's all everybody needs is a 20-foot Jackie looking down on them, that one's been a little uncomfortable for me too.
There you go. I bet you a lot of people haven't had that experience of having their face and photo on a big billboard in Calgary, I presume.
Yeah, just past Cross Iron Mills. Yeah, I was lucky. I've got an angel out there who was very kind to me. But it is to stand out there and have your picture taken with this giant billboard is something else. And to see yourself and people go, oh my gosh, I was driving and I saw you on this billboard. And you're like, oh yeah, I know.
You should take that photo and have a caption that says meanie me, and let them figure out which one is the meanie you.
Yeah. But it's amazing, you talk about marketing and brand. I mean, the views on my website just skyrocketed with it. So to all the billboard companies out there, you're doing a great job.
Which is a great reminder to the idea of when people hear about you in from many different sources, they then start to form a different opinion of you. If they just only hear about you from you only, that's one opinion. If they hear about you from you and from your customers, okay, that's another, great addition. But also from your customers and your peers, that's another addition. But also from other, kind of credible organizations. I say to people, if you build connections so that the people who are in the organizations that matters to you, if they actually, let's say various people know about you through different channels and different contexts and different again, context, then the impression or the relationship or the perception is a lot more robust, right?
Yes. And yeah, I agree. And I think it's important. And I think my personality comes through in some of these things that I do. I'm always a goof, right? Maybe people don't want that professionalism, but I have to tell you, that scuba diving incident changed my life. And I do believe in being real and having fun and enjoying life and living life to the fullest, like we were talking about, and really forming those authentic relationships. So I think those other things do show me being kind of goofy and laughing and having fun, and, not just my professional persona that I put out there when I'm in front of a client, right?
In other words, confidence, which is one of the topics that you train people on, and confidence doesn't mean perfection. Confidence is the ability to be so confident that you don't take yourself too seriously. In fact,
that's great. That's really good. I always think of leadership as courage. So you're right. Confidence is about not taking yourself too seriously. And, in the past, I know prior to the scuba diving, I was so serious about everything. And I didn't know how to play, and I didn't know how to have fun. Well, I did, but do you know what I mean? It's a much bigger priority now, for sure. But confidence, it is being able to push through and not get hung up on those internal tapes that go on in our head,
Yeah. I have a quote that I often share on social media, and I say, confidence is more powerful when it is mixed with the appropriate dose of humility.
Yeah.
So you can be so confident in your craft, but if you also show humility, then it really, again, back to what you said earlier about the know, like, and trust, right? People trust you, I think, even more when you display extreme confidence with the right mix of humility. The right mix is the key. So we all have to kind of figure out what is the right mix for each one of us at our career junction, right?
Well, it's interesting that you brought that up, because I probably, before the scuba diving accident, I probably had a little too much ego. I know I had too much ego. I really did, because, it's those knocks in life that really give you a proper perception on life, and it is
nothing like death to kill your ego.
But I also think that ego can sometimes be a lack of confidence as well, right?
You bet.
That we put on the bravado, the show, and so I think ego is it's a double-edged sword. It really is. But I think a lot of times ego is there. It is a bravado, a false sense of bravado. Yeah. And but you're right. Humility and being honest, authentic, and real is definitely.
And it has this value. I mean, ego or confidence allow us to propel ourselves to a certain level and allow ourselves to believe in ourselves. And some of that is good, but then it needs to be balanced with the idea of at some point in our career, in our life, we realize that we're good enough that we don't need to prove every moment of the day to somebody.
Exactly. And again, it's one of those huge life lessons, right?
Yeah.
I'm good enough the way I am, and people don't like it. That's their issue, not mine.
Yeah. Have you ever listened to somebody who starts the conversation and you perceive them a certain way based on what it is that they share with you? And then as the conversation goes on, they share a little bit more. They just throw in a bit more, and you learn a little bit more. And you say, oh, wow, this person is more qualified than I thought. And then as the conversation goes on, so that's one way of doing it. Whereas some people, when you meet them, they just wanted to impress you on everything that they know, every credential that they have. There's nothing left anymore to discover.
Mhm.
That, then it's not as powerful. I think, trust and confidence gets built slowly when we build relationship. You know just enough about me to kind of get us kind of rolling here. And the idea is that as we spend more time together, there should be more that you would learn about me that would make, again, us more endearing to each other, rather than trying to establish that all on the first minute. It's like trying too hard, right?
Yeah. And, that's why rapport and relationship building is so important these days, right? It really is. You don't want to come across with all bravado. It is about the other person and what you can do for them. So
yeah. So wonderful. Again, thank you so much for spending the time with us today. And again, thanks our viewers who are watching live, as well as those who watch later in the recorded version. And again, it'll also be on YouTube as well, and wherever else you share this. But thank you, Michelle, for chiming in as well. Michelle LaBelle, and your
Michelle
good friend
LaBelle. That's not the best name ever.
Michelle LaBelle. That could be a song. In fact, there was a song.
It is a song.
There you go.
Michelle LaBelle.
There you go. So as we wrap this up, this is what I'm going to do. If you want to sing, feel free to sing us out, and that would be a great way to end the conversation.
No.
Some of our guests do juggle. They do juggle or stupid human tricks. Anything goes here. Anything goes here, right? So again, thank you so much, Jackie. Folks, you've been listening to Jackie Rainforth, and she has lots of wisdom to share, both in the sales and successful sales practices and strategies, as well as, again, confidence and success in both business and life. And so, again, her website was displayed earlier. It's in the show notes, as well as in the advertising poster. Feel free to, again, visit her website and reach out to her. But again, till we meet again, folks, have a great afternoon or morning or whatever have you. Take good care of yourself. Take good care of one another. But I'm going to turn it to you, Jackie, to take us out in whatever way you like. And you can take as long as you like, or wrap it up quickly, however you do that. But thank you so much.
Well, okay. Well, thank you for having me, Dune. All I would say, as I sign my books, I say, dream big, push through fear, and be badass in all that you do.
Thank you so much.
You're
If you
welcome.
could hang around in the green room for a moment, I'll give you a high five in there. But thank you again, Jackie.
Okay, take care. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us, Jackie.
Okay.